Welcome to Crimson Ed Talks. I'm your host, Jamie, the CEO and co-founder of Crimson Education. And today I'm with the legend of Crimson and a phenomenal entrepreneur, Adam Joseph. Adam's had a storied academic background, absolutely nailing the International Baccalaureate diploma. After that, going to Harvard, where he actually took an interdisciplinary major, which we're going to ask him some more questions about. He then went off to do a Fulbright scholarship, actually helped to spearhead our growth in India before becoming a BCG associate and having a phenomenal time at one of the world's best management consulting firms. And then most recently, he's been running a really exciting company, Clipbook, that's going from strength to strength. We're going to hear all about it today. Adam, great to be with you.
Jamie, great to see you. Thanks for having me.
So I guess I've given you a bit of background on some of the the excitement in your trajectory so far. But can you tell us just a bit about what motivates you, what drives you, and why you're building a company?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. And, I think for me, a lot of what I've always loved in my career are early stage organizations, things that are going from 0 to 1. And honestly, the first place that I experienced that was a political campaign where, we just had a couple of staff. We had a really smart, accomplished former health director for the city of Detroit who wanted to become governor of Michigan. And, we were tasked with, hey, how do we get this guy a lot of votes, hundreds of thousands of votes to potentially win the governorship? And really in that early stage environment, kind of pulling a small, scrappy team together, kind of starting with nothing, going into, eventually turning out hundreds and hundreds of thousands of voters, in that race, have loved environments like that. Similarly with Clipbook now as a startup CEO, kind of going from, basically an idea, just like, a couple of slides, pen on paper, to now serving hundreds of customers across the United States and United Kingdom. So no, I think like the early stage experience, kind of really driving a really intensive impact, I think has been such a pleasure.
Amazing. And going back a little bit to your education, what kind of student were you in high school? And what did you prioritize? What did you focus on back then? Tell us a bit about Adam in high school.
Yeah, I think I leaned quite a bit into anything that offered a lot of leadership opportunities. So from being on my class council and as a high school student, being able to lead our schools. I mean, everything from like fundraising drives to become for our high school prom to big social impact endeavors for the class. All those types of leadership opportunities were really, really helpful for me, especially now as a leader and in the startup world. I think just a lot of the people management skills that you get from working with other students, working with your classmates, whatever it might be, I think really translate on some very fundamental levels over time. So really joined that in high school. I was really, just in kind of more broadly speaking, the people management, loved doing social impact work, worked really closely with a mental health nonprofit called Common Ground that was based in my hometown, got to work with a lot of students there as well. So yeah, I think a range of those types of activities were super helpful.
And now as an entrepreneur, reflecting back on your time at Harvard, what were some of the things that perhaps helped you in this pathway, key insights socially, academically, etc., that have catalyzed this ambition you've had?
I mean, the number one thing by far was the people I met when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, that then had massive, implications for, my future entrepreneurial career. I'm looking at one of them right now, Jamie. Our friendship, kind of seeing you on your entrepreneurial journey, learning from that, I think was just hugely formative for me. Just kind of have the muscle memory for building a company later. But it's actually funny because, looking at even my college roommates, out of my 4 roommates in my senior year of college, 3 of us went on to be founders and entrepreneurs ourselves. So my good friend Pulak is now the CTO of his venture-backed startup. They're really, really crushing it. And we just the little things and being able to have a trusted friend or two that you can trade notes on. And hey, how do we get this this problem solved? How do we how do I handle this thing that maybe you already handled in your business a couple weeks ago? And being able to trade notes, have that sort of social support, I think was critical. And that was really thanks to my time at Harvard, thanks to the people I got to meet there. It was just a really fantastic experience.
Incredible. I love it. And I think one observation I have is that Harvard definitely makes you feel you can dream big, you can swing for the fences. And, what may seem delusional to a student from from New Zealand or Michigan, at Harvard, it really does feel like you can make things happen. And, I think that that's infectious because entrepreneurship does require some extreme delusion to get going given the odds you're facing. But you just got to get right through it and keep punching. So very, very exciting. And then I guess an interesting thing about your background is a lot of folks that go into management consulting, going to places like BCG, they don't end up necessarily launching their own company. They might go to big corporates, but they typically, stay in that side of the world. So how did you kind of reconcile those two quite distinctive experiences, and how did you switch from quite a big operation to zero, literally 0 to 1?
Yeah, I mean, so I think on some level you're in the job at BCG, you're doing well. It's like one of the most exciting places in the world to work. You're surrounded by some of the smartest people you'll ever get to work with, working on, really huge, impactful customers, clients, and some of their biggest, most strategic, most essential challenges. And I think you learn a lot from that. You learn, the basics of business analysis, of people management, of client management, of even technical skills around how to do financial modeling, and a lot of the like practical things that can be quite useful as an entrepreneur. I think for me, there was just something in the back of my brain throughout my time at BCG where I was like, really thought, hey, if there's one place in the world I want to work as an employee, BCG was going to be that for the rest of my life, right? Like, would want to be a partner at BCG, stay there forever. But there was still that question in my mind of, hey, can I build something on my own, right? Where I'm the principal, I'm the primary accountable party to, what the client ultimately gets, to what you're building as a product, to building the team, to constructing, the business more broadly. And I think when you have the entrepreneurial itch, it's sort of hard to, hard to make it go away without going for it, right? And I did. I mean, I admittedly my last like 6 months, 8 months at BCG, I knew I was kind of going to go maybe do something entrepreneurial. I had to kind of ask myself, okay, well, what if this fails? What's my relationship with the firm? And, how does that look like? So I spent loads of time getting advice from every single person I worked with at BCG, all the partners. And, it was finally maybe 3 months before, I was going to leave, that one of the partners at the office at BCG in DC had told me, hey, if you're going to go start your company, I'm 100% behind you. You should go do this. And hey, if your product just doesn't work, or you decide that one of your key team members wants to become a yoga instructor and it all falls apart, he's like, just pick up the phone, call me. You can always go back to the firm. And I think just having that sort of safety net with the firm as well, kind of the incentive structure is such that, hey, it makes sense to go do take a big swing at a startup and really rock and roll. So I think this is just sort of how I think about the story, kind of in retrospect, more broadly.
I love it. Rock and roll. We love to rock and roll.
Yeah.
That's an amazing summary. Now, Adam, I guess just for people listening, I'm sure they're really curious. What does Clipbook do? How did you kind of initially stumble across this niche? What's your vision for it? Give us the pitch.
Yeah. So, if you're a communications team, a government relations team, and anywhere in the world, and political campaigns, and business and politics and government, there's a good chance that you have some poor 22-year-old intern named Derek, who has this unfortunate task of doing very manual, very time-intensive research for your organization. So typically, what this looks like is they wake up at 5 a.m. They do a lot of Google News searches or Google searches of different topics that their boss may care about, whether it's tracking themselves in the press or their components or their peer organizations, key pieces of policy and legislation. And historically, it was always such a manual process. And, I had saw it at BCG as well, that even the communications team at BCG had to do a lot of manual work in order to, really track a lot of things they wanted to track day to day. And I kind of figured, and hey, we have like electricity now. We have artificial intelligence. We have all sorts of capabilities that we didn't have maybe even a couple of years ago. There must be a better way to really support these types of processes. So, we launched Clipbook at the beginning of 2023, really with that pain point in mind. And what our tool does to more directly answer your question, Jamie, is that we automate the analysis, the aggregation and the analysis of key data sources for our clients, and help really give Derek a lot more support, and save Derek kind of that painstaking manual process every day. So fast forward today now, mid 2024, we have over 200 customers of some of the leading organizations, enterprises across the US and UK, everything from several dozen members of Congress and US senators, sitting US governors, some of the largest health departments in the world are using Clipbook, to government relations teams of publicly traded companies, a couple of professional Major League Baseball teams, everything in between. So no, it's been quite the ride. We love supporting our clients. It's been pretty awesome.
Incredible. I love it. And one thing I would say is in entrepreneurship, I really always think about founder market fit. And I feel like in there's ultimate founder market fit with Clipbook and your, zest for business, for politics, also for sales and growth. And it's a really, really unique space you have been building in. So amazing stuff. Thanks so much for sharing these insights, Adam. Amazing to have you on, and we really appreciate it. We'll be cheering you on.
Thanks, Jamie.